Let me, I think that Mr. Kamath gave you a view of the near-term situation. So let me share with you why I think the coming decades are going to be, and why do we say that the 21st century will be the India century. Yes, there is gloom and doom, and I think that particularly in the Western world, we are paying for excesses of many decades, for living out of our means in the Western world for many decades. And I think that that will correct itself. It's not the first time in history it's happening. We've corrected itself. Fundamentally, I believe that still the four trends that will drive the world, where India has a competitive advantage, are very relevant. The first is demographics. And the world is becoming older while India is becoming younger. And I think that that is our strength. India today represents, in demographic terms, exactly what the United States was in the 1910-20s. Right? This is our baby boomer generation that is growing up, that is aspiring, that produces and consumes at the same time and creates internal markets. The second trend is democracy. And our own democracy, our pluralism, the ability for Indians, right, to believe in democracy. The third trend that I see, which again goes in India's favor, is I am a big believer, again with bias of being an engineer, that technology is really going to drive more and more value creation in the world. And in spite of the recent economic meltdown, technology is not going to stop. In fact, it's technology that is really going to pull us out of all of this. And relative to most other countries, India has embraced technology. The innovation and the knowledge culture that Mr. Kamath talked about is nothing but competitive embracement of technology, where we just have a mindset, we have a gene pool where our young people can do very well in technology. The last advantage is what I call globalization and growth. And I'll explain that in a second. I think that we've got an underlying growth momentum, right, which Kamath Sahab again explained, is saying that, okay, whatever happens to the rest of the world, we still think that we will grow at 6-7%. I think that that's just a baseline. Our potential, and if you look at the next 3, 4, 5 decades, I think that we will maintain double-digit growth. And this economy has the growth momentum going for it for the next 3 decades. And we also reinvent our growth model. So while there will be ups and downs in globalization, we have the ability to reinvent our growth model. And that again is a strength. While the world is contracting, we will still continue to grow. So these are the 4 large trends that I see that will be relevant, where India has a competitive advantage. Clearly we will have 2-3 years of recovery in the world, and then things will go back. But even while that is happening, India continues on this path, led by its younger people, led really in terms of trying to create and reinvent growth and becoming a powerful engine for the whole world.
As I think about the last 15 to 20 years, which has been the key part of our professional life, I see 2 very clear themes which have evolved. The first part of the theme is somewhere around the mid to late 90s, we saw in the Indian context a theme which began to benefit India and Indians, the theme of globalization. As we see the world in these changing times, and particularly the situation around in many countries, I'm beginning to worry that this wave of globalization is converting on the global stage to a wave of deglobalization. And as this deglobalization gets momentum, we are beginning to see reversal of capital flows. Money is going back home and to its own destination. And a simple number to my mind is that say if you look at the Indian market, at its peak, the global portfolio flows in India were at about $300 billion, and that's January 2008. And India's foreign exchange reserves were $300 billion. The portfolio flows stock at market price today is $50 billion, while India's reserves continue to be $250 billion. So we have seen a significant deglobalization of capital flows. We are seeing a significant reversal on trade. We are seeing protection coming back in almost every country. Barriers in both tangible and intangible forms getting greater momentum. And last of all, we are seeing deglobalization in jobs. I hear stories about British workers for British companies or for jobs in UK or the US. So all the major proponents of globalization, which was the developed world, suddenly beginning to develop cold feet and moving into deglobalization.